Welcome to Growth Investing Mastery. Today we're going to introduce Ardelyx with symbol ARDX. And as a reminder, this is not a recommendation to buy any stocks. I'd first like to introduce the numbers or financials for Ardelyx before reviewing the product and what the company does. And there's two reasons for that. I'd like to look at the numbers first to rule out companies which don't have accelerating financials. I want to avoid getting hyped up on a product before looking at the financials because sometimes I'll get interested in a company and learn a lot about them and it seems good, but the numbers simply aren't accelerating in the way we like. And the second reason I want to look at the numbers first is this is a biotech company. And I know a lot of people write off biotech companies because of their binary nature of either they get product approved by the FDA or they don't. And sometimes the stock crashes if they don't get approved by the FDA. But in this case, I think Ardelyx is quite a bit different than other biotechs. And they already have two FDA approved products, which are both selling incredibly well. And if we look at the revenue here, I like to look 5 quarters back because this allows you to see the year over year numbers. We see that 1 year ago, when they reported Q4, they got 34 million of revenue. And this year, when they reported, they got 116 million of revenue, which is up 238% year over year. And if we look at the pattern in between, it also has a nice acceleration. We go from 34 to 46, have a big jump up to 73 to 98, and then to 116. And when we look at GAAP EBITDA, we start out a year ago, the company earned negative 28 million. And in this last Q4, they earned 9 million. Additionally, we can see they went positive on EBITDA. So they crossed over that threshold of being self-sustaining as a company. And looking at net income, there's a similar very nice acceleration where a year ago we had negative 30 million of net income. And this past quarter, we had 5 million of net income. And getting to profitability will really allow this company to ramp up their sales and marketing and R&D to either sell more of their existing product or research new products. Let's take a look at a company overview for Ardelyx. The company builds drugs which deal with gastrointestinal and kidney diseases. Ardelyx was founded in 2007 with the headquarters in Massachusetts. And I like to rule out the headquarters being somewhere strange, so it's good to see it somewhere standard like Massachusetts. Ardelyx uses small molecular therapies with a proprietary drug discovery platform. And that's one of the things I like about this company. They say they have a platform for innovation, and they're using this new small molecular therapy. Ardelyx has 267 employees at last report, and I like to confirm with companies that they don't have too many employees or are not bloated from a previous acquisition or something like this. And the market cap for Ardelyx is 1.3 billion, which is quite low for a company that has 116 million of revenue on the last quarter with the growth rate they have and is showing GAAP profitability. The company has 250 million of cash and they say that they have a good cushion and they do have debt of 179 million, but it's good to see the cash is higher and they might be able to refinance that debt. Ardelyx has two main products, Ibsrela for IBS and Xphozah for kidney disease. There's also two active trials the company has, one for elevated potassium, the other for metabolic acidosis. And I like that this company treats common conditions that have a lot of patients. They mention that IBS has over 6 million prescriptions in the US alone per year. And for kidney disease, there's over 550,000 cases which can be treated by Xphozah per year. Some biotechs have a much smaller market and they treat rare conditions, but Ardelyx treats common conditions, which is encouraging. Ardelyx reported Q4 earnings on February 20th, 2025. There was an acceleration in the business, which was led by an expanded sales team. And the CEO said we've had the best product launches in recent years. The company aims to grow Xphozah to $750 million of revenue per year and Ibsrela to $1 billion of revenue per year before the patents expire. Ibsrela showed strong growth momentum, with revenue going up 32% quarter over quarter. That's one of my favorite stats from this last earnings narrative, is that Ibsrela grew 32% quarter over quarter, and it seems like prescriptions are picking up fast. The company said they've seen exceptional commercial execution, and that includes new and refill prescriptions. The company also has $250 million on their balance sheet, which they plan to leverage soon. For the full year 2024, Ardelyx had $333.6 million of revenue versus $124.5 million of revenue in 2023. And that shows what an incredible increase in revenue Ardelyx had over the last year. R&D expenses were $13.7 million versus $9.5 million a year ago. And I like to see R&D going up, especially in a biotech company. To me, it indicates that they can continue to innovate. And if a company's not increasing R&D, it might be they're just buying patents or they're not really building out new drugs. And we see that net income was $4.6 million, and that's versus negative $28.8 million last year. So the company switched to being net income positive, which is very encouraging. The company expects Ibsrela to do 240 to 250 million of revenue in 2025, and they've given no guidance for Xphozah, and we'll talk about that in a second because there is a potential drawback with Xphozah right now. Ardelyx Assist is a program to help patients, and that's a program they've built out over time. Ardelyx was at some recent investor conferences, which is always encouraging to see for a company with a $1.3 billion market cap. They presented at TD Cowen, Barclays, and JP Morgan tech conferences recently. These conferences can be found in the Quarter app, which is really useful. That's Quarter without an E at the end. And it's a free app you can download on the phone. Ardelyx did 158 million of Ibsrela over the past year and 161 million of Xphozah over the past year. And one thing I like is that the revenue is split evenly between the two products. There's an unmet need for IBS-C patients, and 80% are unhappy with current meds. The company talks a lot about the two competitors in the space, and Ibsrela uses a new tech called NHE3. And I'm not exactly sure how that works technically, but what they've said is that doctors can offer an alternative of Ibsrela to the other two medications. And IBS prescriptions are growing nearly 11% yearly. The Xphozah medication for kidney disease is just 2 small pills per day, and competitors require up to 20 pills to treat the same condition. There's 550,000 patients in end-stage renal or kidney disease, and 60% of those are on Medicare. Ardelyx Assist is a great hub and patient services program, and the company has been advertising that and saying how effective this program is. The company is also finding ways to keep patients covered even if their Medicare stops. The medication's currently approved in Hong Kong and Macau, and it sounds like they're expanding to Asia. I'd like to talk about my concerns for Ardelyx and why this company is still a small position. Xphozah is no longer covered by Medicare Part D and is moving to Medicare Part B. Part B addresses insurance, and Part D is the free part. The dialysis bundle took effect, and I'm still trying to understand what the dialysis bundle is exactly, but the company emphasized in a lot of conferences that they're finding ways to keep almost all the patients who are covered by Medicare Part D still covered. The company did mention there is seasonality in Q1 and that IBS scripts go down about 10% on average. And that's something I learned that affects a lot of pharma and biotech companies, is that many consumers in the US want to have their insurance work on Q4 because they've met their deductible for the year. And here's a direct quote. Some physicians are acutely aware of reimbursement dynamics and others seemingly aren't at all. They just write the prescription that goes off. So there may be some education for Ardelyx to do in the marketplace. The seasonality in Q1 combined with the removal of Medicare Part D, is a concern for me, and that could impact Q1 results heavily. Let's review what we've discussed about Ardelyx. The company is demonstrating promising accelerating financials across revenue, EBITDA, and net income. The market cap is just 1.3 billion, presenting potential upside to the stock price. Ibsrela sales are up 32% quarter over quarter, and it's a large market with over 6 million people being treated for IBS. The sales force is growing for Ardelyx, and the company is expanding internationally. Ardelyx has a platform for developing small molecular drugs, and it sounds like they may be able to get future FDA wins. 2 more drugs are in the pipeline, and based off their track record, I think they may be able to get another medication FDA approved. I do have some concerns around Medicare Part D and the uncertain payer environment right now. Q1 could be seasonally weak, and that's something to look out for. This concludes the introduction of Ardelyx. And let me know in the comments section if you think this is an appealing investment or if the Medicare issue is enough to scare you off of this one. As a reminder, this is not investment advice or recommendations to buy any stocks.